you. Thank you so much. And while the panel comes onto the stage, this is your 15-minute warning, delegates. Conversation, questions that you want to have with the speakers you've already seen on the stage. Nobody has slipped out early, they're all here. They're all completely committed. What questions do you have? What questions may you have for this panel that you're about to hear from, or even the next one? So anyone who's down for this plenary session, please let me know if you have questions. And this is also a 15-minute warning for the ushers. I would like you to be in the 2 aisles with your microphones waiting. I know there will be plenty of questions. I don't want to find you or have to hunt for you. Microphones ready, center aisles. Fantastic. All right. Good afternoon. So good to have you. Mr. Mullah Alam Fiyum, welcome. Miss Monica Hangi, welcome. And Miss Doris Mgeta, it is great to have you. Mullah Alam, first of all, your 30-second biography, so we know why you're so special that you have to be in this trade and infrastructure conversation we're about to have right now.
My name is Mullah Alam Siyum. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of the African Electronic Trade Group. We are a strategic partner with the African Union and the African Continental Free Trade Area. What we do is capacity building for small and medium entrepreneurs. Thank you.
Doris Mgeta, so good to have you here on stage. You can humble brag. Tell us about you. Why are you here on this stage? Why are you talking about trade and infrastructure?
Thank you very much. My name is Doris Mgeta. I think in this panel I'm the youngest. I'm 28 years old. Don't look at the morphology. This is the African genes, by the way. I am a board member of the Tanzania Trade Development Authority, and I'm in that seat by virtue of the business that I do. I run a family business right now, but also a member of the Young Women Entrepreneurs in Tanzania. And I'm really looking forward to this discussion. Thank you.
Monica Hangi, please tell us all about yourself, but only in 30 seconds.
I'm going to try. My name is Monica Hangi, and I work with Trademark Africa. Trademark is a short form of trade and market. So this panel is actually the right one for me to sit in. I am happy to sit in here to just share with you some of the innovative and transformative solutions just to make sure that trade happens and the produces actually reach the final consumer. Thanks.
So this is a conversation. I'm not interviewing you because you are way smarter than I am. So you can bounce off each other anytime. But Monica, I know often we talk about tech innovation as being the key. Like, this is how we're going to manage, regardless of our resources. How does tech and innovation fit into this idea of trade and infrastructure? What can you share with us that is going to make us hopeful, intrigued, and lean into this conversation?
Well, thanks. If you look at the digital solutions, there's almost a very direct line linkage to increased trade. If you want to trade and then you have the digital solutions, then automatically you'll expect. But looking at how the situation is right now and the way it works in Africa, there's so many processes and challenges along the path. So there are 3 main categories. If you look at when you're producing at production level, the aggregation aspect comes in, and then how do you then access the markets, the logistics component. So all that, in fact, needs a way and a solution that will be able to integrate and bring all the processes together. We face quite a bit of an issue when it comes to accessing the market from the farm gate. You could have all the fertilizers, the best seeds that you can work with, but then once the produces are ready, how are you going to move them from your farm to where they are needed, to the market? And that is where we come in. There's a solution that we have developed and are working with at Trademark Africa. It's called a Trade and Logistics Information Platform. That platform currently has prioritized a few value chains, looking at grains, the staples, horticulture, the fruits, vegetables. I mean, that is where most of processes are happening. So looking at how best we can connect the buyers, the market, to the producer, the farmer, from all the processes that are in between. But midway, we realized there's that missing link around aggregation, the warehousing. At what stage are you able to sit back and know how much, say, maize you have in all the warehouses in a certain country? Let's just start with Tanzania, for example. How many tons of maize do you have? It's not easy to tell because the warehouses, the aggregation aspect has not been automated. So if we're able to do that, then it is easy to even sit back and say, I would want to reach out to the African, the continental market, and I'll be sure to meet the demand. If I'm supposed to sell or produce this amount of maize, then I'll be sure that from my country, I'll have exactly enough for me to be able to do that. So that is one of the solutions that we're looking at. But also currently, and I'm sure all of us are aware of the e-commerce that we have. That's another platform. If you're talking about trade, digital solutions, you cannot run away from e-commerce solutions. The iSoko, Trademark has just launched an iSoko platform where you're connecting the buyers and the sellers, and that goes beyond the borders. So that is something that I think is key, and especially for the agro products, just to see how best we can adopt these solutions and make them sustainable going forward. Thanks.
Doris, go ahead.
Thank you. I would like to add on what she just presented. See, the biggest challenge right now is we address issues on we're looking at, which is correct. But I'm going to go to a more futuristic approach. Since I said before, I introduced myself as the youngest in the panel for a reason. The value chain in agriculture has not been exhausted to its fullest. And this is a great opportunity for young people to come on board and then see, oh, I shouldn't only plant and harvest and then sell. I can be a seed supplier. I can be a researcher, a soil researcher. A good example is in Africa, most land is not exhausted. We have ample virgin land, but then we need young people who have the tenacity to actually dare and say, look, the value chain has way more opportunities than what I would want to aspire or what it has to offer. Then I'm going to get in there and see where I fit. You might not necessarily know where the seeds are sown, but you know where the trucks are found. So you can be the transporter of products from the farm to the market. So that is one way we need to be addressing such issues that, look, this is the gap. Young people come on board into this particular opportunity. I would also like to add up on this by saying there is actually I think I'm not skeptical about this, but I think I have a very different opinion on this. Fertilizers have been subsidized, which is a good thing. But like I said prior, land in Africa, most land do not require plantation by using fertilizers. These lands are virgin, so you just need your water and a good condition, good schemes, actually irrigation schemes, so that the crops can flourish. Now, how about we provide subsidies to young people in terms of tech and machines? For instance, in Tanzania, if I own 1 acre of land, for me to actually get a tractor to help me during my process, I would have to pay 50,000 Tanzanian shillings. That is enough cost for me to run my life for an entire 2 weeks while I wait for the harvest. So the approach should be more of accommodating the small-scale farmers or the young people who are engaging in agriculture in a more futuristic point of view. There is a great generational gap between farmers who are well experienced and the novice who come into the agriculture business. So that in itself has to be addressed. Thank you.
I know there are thoughts hold the thoughts for a moment, because I want to bring Mullah Alam into the conversation, then he won't be shy, and then I can just let everyone talk to each other. Mullah Alam, empowering SMEs is something that you do, and it's very important to you. Can you tell me how this fits into this idea of really looking at infrastructure for the African continent and how we regenerate it?
Thank you very much. The right word to say is the former Prime Minister saying it, serving SMEs. And that's what exactly we do, is serving SMEs. In order to trade to take effect in our continent, without SMEs' participations and involvement, there is no trade. And then what can we do in order to bring up small businesses in the trade at the mainstream? And primarily in this digital capacity building that we offer the know-how. The know-how, the soft skills that is small business need, and changing that mindset of competitiveness, productivities, efficiencies. By the way, let me just congratulate for the organizers, the efficiency services that has been really provided in parallel various different meetings, because it must be noticed in that. And productivity and efficiency is one of the game changers to be competitive. And our young peoples, our startup and small business, in order to be competitive, their productivity need to be up to the standard and up to fit. Because without efficiencies and productivities, that it is very hard to be competitive to the global market. And in our training material called Changing the Mindset to be competitive, changing the mindset aligning with their business plan, that is one of the offer that we provide to small businesses and agri farmers on that. The second element is a market linkage. We have, in partnership with the African Union, we operate a continental marketplace. And this marketplace is similarly like Amazon, Alibaba. The business model is slightly different. As we are a social enterprise, that we offer a shared prosperity element where our young people can be benefiting from zero investment, can be the 50% shareholder of that. And currently it has been operational throughout the continent, it's been used, and that is one of the market linkage. The third one to work is that affordable finance. And this affordable finance in our continent, small business has been neglecting throughout the continent. Currently, there is about $330 billion gap every single year for affordable finance. This huge gap is not being filled by anybody in our continent. And so the question is, how can we meet this gap? In the last 4 years, we've been discussing with the African Union to address these challenges. Last year, we got the summit decision to operationalize digital and financial inclusion by the AU Summit. And for that, this year in July, we launched, to meet this gap, African Strategic Investment Alliance. The African Strategic Investment Alliance is the fund of funds where Africans can participate to provide the financing for the affordable finance throughout the continent. And as part of the resource mobilizations that we had the commitment up to $8 billion for the next 10 years. As you can imagine, this is just a drop in the ocean, $300 billion gap every single year, and $8 billion for the next 10 years. So for that, we are bringing it to the global market where the fund of funds, for those who believes on impact investment, sustainable investment, and blended financing, where they can join the African Strategic Investment Alliance to be able to provide. This will be working with a number of hundreds of microfinanciers throughout the continent, using the technology to meet also the speed and efficiency to be able to provide the emerging need of the small businesses gap, because currently we are not meeting that need, and it requires speed, scale, and efficiencies to be able to provide. Collectively with this, in the next 15 years, by 2037, that we are committed with a number of stakeholders and partners to create between 80 to 125 million jobs in the continent. As you can imagine, this is huge undertaking. There is no one organization can meet. And with partners, and for example, with the help of AGRA, we can be able to meet this job creation, as majority of the job will be created in agriculture. And a number of questions may come that this is huge, this is a huge undertaking. Well, we have a huge challenges and scalable challenges in the continent that we face. Once, I will say with one statement that Albert Stein says that the insanity is doing things over and over, expect different results. Well, we need to think differently. We need to think scalably because the challenge we face in the continent is huge and it needs to address with scalable impact. Thank you.
So before I go back to our plenary panelists, I would like to see the two ushers standing in the middle of the aisles with the two microphones held up high, and then look around the room to see where those questions are. Put your hands up, please, delegates. All right, do we see any? Any questions? No questions yet? Are we seeing any? And we just have one usher, do we? Or do we have two with microphones? All right. Are you looking? All right, keep looking. Ah, there's a question here. All right, keep looking, put your hand up when you have a question. I will come to you as soon as you have your question. Monica, I know that you had thoughts, and I wanted to get Mullah Alam into the conversation before I went to you. And then Doris as well. I know you're ready to go. Monica, you start.
Thanks. When Doris was sharing her thoughts about inclusivity, I think that sits at the heart of, first, my passion, but also what we do as an organization, and happy that AGRA also is in the room. And there is a Building a Better Tomorrow initiative that is actually looking and prioritizing the youth. And I think that is a very good starting point, because ownership, land ownership, is critical to actually motivate a youth or any other person to actually invest in that specific piece of land. So I think that initiative by AGRA also starts off perfectly, but also looking at what best we can do. He also talked about MSMEs. That inclusivity, bringing in all the marginalized groups, the women who are so present at the beginning of a value chain, any agricultural value chain, you will find the women, the youth at the very beginning doing very basic work, and towards the end when they're trying to sell in the markets and just getting the products out. But there is that middle bit of that value chain that they miss. And that is where most effort, in fact, has to go in to make sure that, as Doris was saying, just making sure that their presence, their involvement along the entire value chain is critical. I mean, when she was speaking, those are the thoughts that kept coming to my head. Yeah.
Doris, go ahead.
I want to thank Madam Monica for actually acknowledging. I hope my name will be memorable to her. Yeah. So I would want to also add on the issue concerning inclusivity. Agriculture is the one sector in the world that an elite and a non-elite can actually sit in a table and talk. You can have a professor who has PhDs in the agro sector and a layman who is a very profound, rich businessman. So it's more of an exchange of value for value. It doesn't need a person who, one person may be educated and other one not, but one person is more practical and the other is theoretical. Now, the whole sense of including, I'm glad that the Honorable Prime Minister indicated that we need to address the informal sector of agriculture. However, times are changing. Like I said, a futuristic approach. In agriculture as of current, you need to have the capacity to know, you need to have the skills to do, and you need to have the action to react. That if anything in the field goes contrary to what you've planned, you have a plan B to counter. And that's why we have the theme that says recover, regenerate, and act. This is the whole concept that revolves around it. And in that case, in providing the knowledge, it's really important for people engaging in the sector, in the agribusiness, to understand the issue of intellectual properties for those who are opting to engage in GMOs, also to understand the issue of patent, understand the issue of branding, marketing. They are essential for agriculture to thrive. We should not only focus that we're trying to help farmers who are of small scale, but to what degree do we want them to remain in a small scale, or are we looking for them to advance from the scale they are on? That's a food for thought for the audience. And lastly, I would also like to indicate that there is a strong drive for young people in Tanzania as of current when it comes to agriculture. I'm glad the Building Better Tomorrow program has been mentioned in this platform today, and it is a great initiative. However, not all youth are part of the program. What is the countermeasure to help other youth who are interested and didn't make it to the cut to be part of the program? Thank you.
I asked all three of you to tell me your bio in 30 seconds, and you did a brilliant job. I would like to ask you in the same time limit, what is the most important thing you want to leave this plenary audience with when we're talking about trade and infrastructure? The most important thing that they are going to remember in 2 weeks' time about being in this plenary about trade and infrastructure. Doris is ready. Go for it. You go first. I love a volunteer.
First, lower your prices. It's ridiculous how plane tickets are really expensive in Africa. But if I want to go out of Africa, I can afford to buy or pay for a plane ticket. The second is, please make the infrastructures accommodative. That means everybody can be included, even those who are of disability. And last but not least, kindly, information, information, information. If we are to foster or push through in the agro sector, in agriculture, everybody who has to be on board has to be informed. Majority of the youth who are present here either got sponsorship to pay for the registration fee or could afford because they come from a family that can actually pay for the registration fee. But have we created an environment where young people can pay for themselves without going to seek a cutoff or sponsorship? And that is what I would like everybody in this room to go home with.
Mullah Alam.
Thank you very much. Well, I will say again is productivity and efficiency will reduce the cost, and a massive production will make us more competitive and more sustainable, more trustworthy, and building sustainabilities. But without productivities and efficiency, it makes us vulnerable.
And finally, Monica.
Well, two things from me. Investing in technology and infrastructure with quite a bit that needs to be done just to up and increase efficiency, and simplifying the trade regimes, looking at how best we can facilitate, even attract people to comply to some of these regulations. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Please take your seats. We really appreciate you sharing your wisdom and your insights. Thank you.